On this episode of Locked On Angels, in the words of broadcaster Wayne Randazzo, it took a village for the Halos to win last night, but they got the win. Second straight series win, fourth win overall. And oh, by the way, Kyren Paris plays the hero. Are you paying attention yet, Ron Washington? It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This 45-year-old man's heart is beating still so fast. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's really one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation.
4 in a row, baby. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
4th season as the host of Locked On Angels, and 4 in a row. Mike, I think our good fortunes we can put on my son August. It's his fault the Angels are doing so good because he watches every game with me. He has no idea what's going on, but it has to be him, right? Hey, we're here 5 days a week talking Angels baseball, Monday through Friday. On today's show, we got a Zach Neto update. We're going to get into a discussion about Kyren Paris, not in the lineup yesterday, yet he comes through again. We're calling it Eiffel Tower power, baby, for Kyren Paris. And then Mike Trout has a hitting adjustment to tell you about. We're going to get into that, but let's recap Game 2 against the Cardinals, another extra inning win for the Halos that Mike, the last 5 years, they don't win these games.
No.
What's going on with this team?
Unbelievable. It's great to see the grit that this team has. John, let's play a quick game called John Was Right and Mike Was Right. You were right about Rengifo batting second yesterday because there was a lefty on the mound and he's going to hit right-handed.
By virtue of Jeff Fletcher, he called that too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And then I was right because I said, I think d'Arnaud's going to catch because Hendricks is on the mound. Right. So we're 2 for 2. And let's just make it 3 for 3 because we were both right. Wash didn't play Kyren Paris.
I know. And he still came through for them.
So frustrating. We're going to get into the specifics of that in the next segment. But one thing that I want to note, before this game and after Monday's game, Wash was asked about if Paris's versatility would play across the entire field. And Wash responded with a resounding no before he reiterated that he'll be in the outfield when he plays. At that point, Paris was 3 for 8 with 2 RBIs. John, there's more quotes and more conversation to have in the second segment. We'll get there. There's just too much to talk about when we talk about this game, right?
You're telling me. Absolutely. The Cardinals got on the board first in the bottom of the second. Nolan Gorman doubled. A lot of Nolans running around the field in this one. Jordan Walker singled him in. Pedro Pages popped out to second base. Victor Scott followed with a single, but Hendricks was able to strike out Mason Wynn and got Lars Nootbaar to fly out to right. The Angels responded in the top of the third after Schanuel and Adele grounded out. Tim Anderson had a single, finally getting a hit. Thank goodness, Tim Anderson.
Yeah.
Ward singled to right. That put Anderson on third. Rengifo followed with a double, and Anderson scored. That's why I like Rengifo up there, Mike. I liked him in that 2 spot.
Yep.
And so Anderson scored there with 2 on. Trout, baby, lines a double down the third base line. Ward and Rengifo score 4 straight 2-out hits to give the Halos a 3-1 lead at that point. No, by the way, they scored these runs while Kyren Paris was being interviewed on the broadcast.
Yes.
So just the aura of Kyren Paris being around or being on display is what helps these Angels score some runs. So the Angels had the lead 3-1 going into the bottom of the fourth, right, Mike?
Yeah, and then Jordan Walker got a run back, hit a home run to center field, made it 3-2 Halos. John, Kyle Hendricks pitched a pretty good game, 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned, no walks, 4 Ks, 97 pitches. It was a quality start for Hendricks. Dropped his career ERA against the Cardinals to 2.53, and his career at Busch Stadium 2.31. I mean, this guy is dominant at Busch Stadium and is dominant against the Cardinals.
And JD Haffern over at Locked On Cardinals said, Why'd you guys have to run out Kyle Hendricks against us? It's been 10 years this guy has haunted me. We're going to be talking with JD on tomorrow's show, so we're really excited about that. But yeah, that's going to be a fun conversation. But just to haunt the Cardinals and JD even more, we ran Kyle Hendricks out there. Mike didn't have the pinpoint accuracy that I said that he would need, but 6 innings, 2 earnings, can't complain about that, and no walks, which, again, if it was Detmer starting or Patrick Sandoval starting or Griffin Canning starting, it'd be home runs and walks and tons of pitches outside the zone, things like that. So this rotation and its veteran presence is anchoring this staff so far, in addition to what Jose Soriano and Jack Kohanowitz have been able to do.
Yeah, Brent McGuire tweeted 2 things, John. He said Angels starters have gone 5+ innings while allowing no more than 3 earned runs in the first 5 starts for the 5th time in franchise history.
Wow.
Recent was 2007, so it's been a few years since that happened. And then he tweeted again, and he said the starting pitching through 5 games and their first turn through the rotation, 30 innings, 10 earned runs, a 3 ERA, 22 strikeouts, 4 walks.
You love it.
Just 10 hits. So great to see the influence of the veterans. Great to see Barry Enright helping these guys to be successful. A guy that he's helping be successful is Ian Anderson, who came in the 7th inning. Remember, lots of walks, 20 innings pitched in spring training, 20 walks, and that's been his Achilles heel. He struck out 2 and didn't allow a base runner. First appearance in the big leagues since 2022, John.
And who did we get Ian Anderson for, Michael?
Jose Suarez.
You know what? Give Jose Suarez his props. Thank you for that send-off. Thank you for the gift of Ian Anderson, because we're much better off with him. Mike, Ben Joyce followed Ian Anderson, gave up a single to start the inning, then got 2 soft ground ball outs to Luis Rengifo. And then a runner at third, Nolan Arenado came up, and Joyce got Arenado to ground out to Schanuel. But Nolan rushed the play and threw it behind Ben Joyce. Didn't need to do it. It was the first error of the Angels season. That tied the game at 3. All you had to do was give it to Joyce, and he blew it. And I was so upset. I was so angry at Nolan Schanuel because, again, he's hitting stuff in the dirt. He forgets, how many outs there are in an inning. He's doing stuff like this, and
he tagged up from first to second in the first game and got thrown out. Right? Yeah, a lot of bonehead mistake baseball by Nolan Schanuel.
So it was frustrating because Kenley came in the bottom of the 9th and got the Cards 1, 2, and 3, and that would have been the game if it was still 3-2. However, Nolan Schanuel had his shot at redemption, and he came through. So I was happy to eat crow in that moment. Top of the 10th was insane. Kyren Paris was pinch running for Jorge Soler, who was the ghost runner, the Manfred man, right? Yoán Moncada takes a walk, the first walk of the game from either team. Seems like Moncada does that a lot, doesn't he? Darno comes up and hasn't had a sack bunt since 2016, but maybe he should have because he popped out to first. And then Schanuel came up with a shot at redemption, hits a 2-run triple to give the Halos the lead. It was his first career triple, and then he screamed. So we saw a lot of energy out of him over at third base. So it was good to see him have redemption for the mistake he made earlier. And then Adele had what would have been the winning run because it gave the Halos the extra lead. But then in the bottom of the 10th, the Cardinals got it right back, didn't they?
Yeah,
Mike?
It was more insaner in the bottom of the 10th. Is that a word? Garrett McDaniels comes in, tries to get his first save of his career. He walks Mason Wynn on 4 pitches. Then with runners at first and second, because the ghost runner was at second base, McDaniels strikes out Newt Barr looking. Then a wild pitch. Runners move up. Then Lucan Baker pinch hits, and he doubles in both of those runners, makes it 6-5. Then Darno has a ball bounce off his glove, goes to the backstop. Runner moves to third. Donovan eventually walks. Wash comes out, gets McDaniels, brings in his favorite pitcher, Ryan Johnson, and Johnson faces Arenado, and Nolan gets a little bloop to right field, kind of sneaks it in there. They intentionally walk Nolan Gorman to load the bases. Johnny, at this point, I'm thinking, well, it was a good run. because this is what we've seen from the Halos in years past. They had a great lead and then they blew it, but then Johnson got Jordan Walker to fly out to right, and Trout unloads a throw home that keeps Donovan at third base. Darno had a chance. He jumps to catch it, brings it down, and if Donovan tried to score, he still would have had time to tag him out. That's how hard he threw that ball. And then Ryan Johnson gets Ivan Herrera to ground out to Moncada, who made a great play at third base. And when it was tied, I thought to myself, I haven't seen this in a really long time.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what happens in the top of the 11th. John, walk us through that.
Yeah, Tim Anderson is the ghost runner at second base. Taylor Ward grounds out to first, but it does move Anderson over to third. Rengifo, my goodness, my friend.
What was that?
He tries for a bunt on the first pitch and pops out to the catcher.
Yeah.
And Ron Washington was like, what are you doing?
Yes.
And so it definitely, I know that we've been critical of Ron for calling all these bunt plays. And the first words out of my mouth were, come on, Ron, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But then the camera went to him and he was ticked off, and you knew Ron didn't call for it because Taylor Ward didn't leave third, Mike. He didn't try to run down the line. So Rengifo, swing away, bro. Like that's your bread and butter.
Yeah.
Don't bunt. So fortunately, it didn't come back to bite us because Trout got intentionally walked after seeing 3 pitches that were outside the zone. Kyren Paris, remember, he took the place of Jorge Soler in the lineup because he was ghost running for him. He singles to right, scores Anderson, moves Trout to third base. Then Paris takes second, and Yoán Moncada, Mike, who needed this moment because he hasn't had a lot of hits. He's played some great defense. He's walked a lot. He doubles to bring in Trout and Paris to make it a 9-6 game headed into the bottom of the 11th.
Then Ryan Johnson comes back out because this guy is not human, right? He's got a rubber arm. He gives up an RBI single to Victor Scott. It doesn't hurt his ERA because that is a ghost runner, but then gets Mason Wynn to line out to center field, and then Wash comes and gets him. Brings in Zeferjahn, his third appearance in 3 games.
Yeah.
He got Nootbaar to fly out to left, and then he got Wilson Contreras to strike out swinging. John, 4 straight wins for the Halos, 2nd straight series win.
Right.
And get this, Angels went 6 for 11 with runners in scoring position last night after going 2 for 19 in the first 4 games. Woo. So when they come through, look what happens when they come through. Right. Look what happens when they hit in situational moments and they are good in those moments and make contact. This is what happens. And we are going to talk about Kyren Paris in the second segment. But this is also what happens when you put your hottest hitter and your most clutch hitter in the first 5 games in the lineup, because he comes through for you.
Yeah.
And so what a win last night. What a very antithetical to who the Angels have been in the last 10 years victory last night. Good on Ryan Johnson. Gets a save the night before, gets his first win last night. And I applaud the team. And I even applaud Nolan Schanuel for coming through in the clutch and recovering from his big mistake. That's what's great about baseball, is there's always a game the next day. There's always another at bat. There's always another chance. And he came through, didn't let it affect him, hits a triple. This team looks so different than what we've seen last year and in years past, Johnny. And I'm excited to watch them. Although, like I said at the start of the show, my heart is still beating because I was stressed out.
Yeah, no kidding. But it feels good to win one. And I saw a lot of questions about Zeferjahn coming in for the 3rd day in a row. But remember, he had short innings each one of those appearances. Yep. So he wasn't getting all 3 outs in an inning, including last night. He was able to get those last 2 outs. And, you know, the velocity change, Mike, we needed somebody hard throwing in from the bullpen on the mound. And so it was great to have Zeferjahn come in there and throw some gas to get it done. So, yeah, feels good to have, no matter what happens today, I know it's an early one. They do have another series win, which is what you need to do. You got to take 2 out of 3. They go for the sweep this morning at 10:35 Pacific time. And we want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up on the show, we've got a Zach Neto update. We'll talk about Kyren Paris not being in the lineup, and then a Mike Trout hitting adjustment that you're going to want to know about. We'll get into all of that coming right up.
Johnny, two things happen when I'm watching a game like we watched last night. I have to go to the bathroom a whole lot. I know that's too much information.
Come on.
And then I love to eat. I'll snack, right? And so I'll go to get like the gummy candies or sugary things, and I'm trying to avoid all of that stuff. So what I did last night, Johnny, is I got my wonderful pistachios, the in-shelled variety.
Yeah.
So I had something to fidget with. I had something to maybe throw in my mouth, get the salt off, and then work it out and then chew it. And it was perfect for last night's game. And it was also perfect because they're good for you. They're filled with a good source of protein. They have the highest protein nuts of all the nuts. I love that. One ounce serving, each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein. It gives you over 10% of your daily value, and they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to keep you going all day long. Now, John likes the in-shelled at a game. He likes the no shells at home. Last night I had the in shell because I needed to fidget a little bit, but
you were anxious. You had to break them apart.
Yes, right. I also have the no shell for those moments when I do actually need a really healthy snack. And you need a healthy snack too. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Everydayers, we appreciate you making us your first listen of the day. Now, let's get into some conversations about our halos that need to be had, Michael. Lots of things to talk about, including the decision to not play Kyren Paris. It was not an April Fool's joke. He was not in the starting lineup. And Ron Washington acknowledged that Paris has been swinging a hot bat, but he said he didn't want Adele to sit out too long. Wash said, of course, it's difficult to bench Paris the way he's been playing, but Adele is ready to go, so he's back in center field. We've got to get him going too. If I don't put Adele back out there, he's just going to rot. We can't afford to have him rot, and I'm not going to let Paris rot. So I've got a challenge on my hands, and I'm going to figure it out before it's over. So the question is, you don't need to not play both of them. You could put Paris in the infield. He is a infielder by trade, and here's what Wash had to say. He wants Paris to focus on center field. He also added that this move is also because the Angels haven't played enough games yet to determine that any of his other infielders deserve to sit. He said, we've played 4 ball games. I'm not worried about who's off to a good start. Offensively, we're finding ways to win ball games. And if we can continue to find ways to win ball games with our offense not clicking, that means we're headed in the right direction. And I want to stay in that direction we're going in. It may not be supplying us with offense right now, but they are catching that rock. So why is it not an overreaction to be mad at this decision? Take it away, Mike.
Because of what happened last night. And Wash got lucky. He got really lucky because the guy that he pinch ran for, Jorge Soler, would have been up in a position to try to win the game, but it ended up being Kyren Paris. So what that does, Johnny, is that it doesn't stoke the fire. It's just a lot of smoke because we won and Kyren Paris came through. But let's not pause and just enjoy that and not actually think about this in its full context. In its full context, you took out your hottest hitter because you're stuck to this idea that we want him to just play center field. There's nothing wrong with giving a player a day off. Logan O'Hoppe got a day off yesterday. But when you're struggling offensively and you have a guy that's able to clutch up in those moments that you need him to clutch up and you sit him, it's not a wise decision. Wash got lucky last night because Kyren Paris came up when it counted. And Kyren did what Kyren always does. And Kyren is also a humble dude who is cheering on his teammates. But the reality is that Tim Anderson has no reason to be in this lineup. That should have been Kyren Paris' spot. You have Rengifo play shortstop and have Paris play second base. That's how you solve this issue. Or vice versa. Second base is a bit easier than shortstop. You have to cover some more ground. I get that. However, you need this guy's bat in your lineup, and it's not smart, and it's not wise, and it's very old school traditional approach to have this guy be in this position and not let him move around the infield. There's so many stories, so many examples of guys who are utility players that can play everywhere that have been so good for great teams.
Well,
And
look
so,
at Tommy Edman with the Dodgers
Yes,
last year. They let him
yes.
play all over the place. Yeah.
And that's what they should do with this guy. I get not overwhelming him and playing center and then another position, but the reality is that you got to play the hot hand. And this is what's frustrating about Ron Washington is you can't be so stuck in the decision making and in your ways and in your strategy that you don't have just a little bit of flexibility. And Kyren Paris last night said, you got to have some flexibility because he came in and did what he was supposed to do. And again, Ron Washington, you got really lucky. You got really lucky because Kyren Paris did what he did last night.
And not even just getting lucky with Kyren Paris taking Solaire's spot and doing what he did, Mike, you had no idea the offense was going to click last night.
Right.
There was no indication that this offense had it together. And so when you start to see, Trout hit that double down the line, it's like, all right, there's something, right? And then, we have this heavyweight boxing match in the extra innings between the Cardinals and the Angels, and everybody's getting RBIs and everybody's driving people in. That wasn't happening the last 4 games, right? And so at this point, I think that it was unwise. You didn't have the luxury to keep Paris out of the lineup. The second thing I'll say is that I'm not a fan of this decision from Ron Washington because I've already seen it. I've seen it on Twitter. I've seen it on YouTube. I've seen it on Instagram. People are blaming Joe Adell for Kyren Paris not being in this lineup.
Yes.
Look, Kyren Paris has been an infielder by trade. In fact, 2023, he had 76 innings at shortstop, had 2 outs above average and 2 defensive runs saved in 76 innings. Mike, sometimes guys don't get that many in a whole season's worth of innings at shortstop. And, if you look at fielding percentage, it might not be great, but at the very least, you can see that Kyren has the ability to play over there. And so I'm frustrated at the fact, and it kind of diminishes the good vibes of the team when people put blame on somebody like Joe Adell, who again had an RBI, and before the Cardinals came back and tied it up, it's like, is that going to be the winning run? Like the sixth run the Angels scored came from Joe Adell. And so I say all that because they're both very good players. They both need to be in the lineup, and they both do their jobs well. I don't like that the decisions by Ron Washington put that bad juju and evil on Joe Adell. Don't you do that, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that evil on me, right? And that's something I get frustrated with.
It's a great point. Really great point. Let's talk about Zach Neto, John. Here's a quick update. He played last night with the Salt Lake City Bees. He went 1 for 5 with a double, a run scored, and a strikeout. He was the DH. Reason why he was the DH is because he's not ready to play shortstop. Ron Washington said he's going to DH for however long he needs to. When the medical people decide that he's ready to go on the field, we're going to have him give the amount of time that he needs to go out on the field and play. And Zach's going to let us know by the way he handles himself out there, catching the ball, being in position, getting cutoffs, relays. That's when we know he's going to be ready. But right now we're starting him at DH, and we'll see how it goes. Now, he did get some action before this game. Remember, he's played in some other games, hit a couple of home runs. Wash did address that. He said a couple of days ago he hit a couple of home runs. I think everyone's phone lit up when that happened. He dropped some bunts. He drew some walks. He's swinging the bat fine, but we got to get him playing shortstop, moving around again, and we'll see how long it takes him to get back. So, John, we heard maybe mid to late April for Neto's return. Could it be sooner? And before you answer, should it be sooner?
I don't want to rush anything with Zach Neto. I don't want to compromise his recovery. I don't want to compromise his shoulder. I want to make sure he's good to go. Now, the advantage of him playing DH, Mike, is that often this is the part that comes last, right? Yep. With recovering and rehab, you go through the motions of all the things that Neto needs to do from shortstop.
Right.
And then you get into some games to see if, you can still hit some semi-major league pitching, and it sounds like Neto's been, doing well at the plate, which is great. So if all he has to do is go through a couple of more, exercises for cutoffs and relays and things like that, and working out at shortstop, I'm fine with waiting until Neto is 100% ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see him back. Hey, shout out to Locked On Everydayer, Michael Borsheim, who lives near the Albuquerque Isotopes. And it turns out the Bees are in town playing the Isotopes.
Oh, cool.
And he asked me, is Neto going to play with the Bees? And at that point, he was not with the Bees yet. But it turns out they're playing the Isotopes like all week long. And so Michael's going to be able to catch Zach Neto with the Salt Lake Bees. And he said he's going to send us lots of pictures from the stadium. So shout out to Michael.
Love that. One final note for the Angels. They acquired left-handed pitcher Jake Eder from the White Sox in exchange for cash considerations. He had been optioned to AAA when he got to the Angels. Now, in a corresponding move, 40-man roster move, the Angels designated Michael Peterson for assignment. And then, Johnny, they traded him to, guess, the Braves?
The Braves. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for cash consideration. So Michael Huntley tweeted this yesterday. He said Eder has a 6.61 ERA in the minor leagues last season, 11.57 ERA in spring training this year. That's not good. What is good is his 122 strikeouts in 109 innings pitched. In fact, Jared Timms tweeted that Fangraphs actually had Eder as the 62nd prospect in all of baseball in 2023. He said he liked him when he came out of Vanderbilt in 2020. He was a 4th-round pick, and he's not going to overpower anybody with his heater, 92 to 94, but he has a plus slider and an average changeup that flashes decent. According to Jared Timms from Talking Halos, this is a really good pickup for kind of really nothing.
Yeah, you can trust Jared. For Jared to say, like, I was actually really interested in this guy, you know that to be true, because if anyone's going to be paying attention to what's going on across all of college baseball, it's going to be Jared. So for him to be excited about him coming out of Vandy in 2020, he's looking forward to him being on the Halos. You know what? It's one of those things where you got another arm that's usable. Let's see what the Halos can do with it. And let's see if they end up needing Jake Eder. And if they do, maybe they can fix what's going on with him and help him be a crucial part of the season if necessary.
For those of you needing help with a little bit of your money issues, your account issues, Monarch Money is here and got your back. They are a personal CFO. They're giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And it's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. You can stop just managing your money and you can start building wealth. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and you can stay on the same page without all of the stress. So why not take control of your finances and let Monarch Money help you out? Download their app, and then when you do, use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
Mike Trout is working on getting back to who he knows he can be. He was on with Chris Rose on his show that he does through John Boy Media. And Chris Rose said, is a full season of Trout good enough, or do we need Trout to be Trout? And Mike Trout said, Trout needs to be Trout. Yeah. And I'm going to be Trout. And I loved hearing that. Now, something I mentioned last week on the show was a word of encouragement that came from Trout's dad. He was working out in the batting cages, and his dad stopped him because he said something wasn't right. And he said, hey, go look at your rookie card I got sitting over there. See where your hands were? What a dad move. What a great dad thing to do.
By the way, son, can you sign your rookie card for me?
Yeah, no kidding. His dad noticed that his hands are in a different position than they are now than when he first started. And sometime in the last few years, Trout began wrapping his hands, and as he loaded to swing, his hands went too far behind his head. And
so like back here, for those on the video side, it's back behind, like, so I'm going to turn here real quick. Yeah. His hands are up here and he's swinging from behind his head. On the audio side, hands are back behind my ear and he's swinging around. And so it's taking him a lot longer to come through.
It was like, remember the guys with the big muscles on Ken Griffey Jr.'s Super Nintendo baseball? They had their hands way back there too. Yep. So it affected his swing path to the ball, Mike. And so Trout said, when I go to swing, it's up and around instead of through the ball. It's like my hands are on a track. If they get off track and I swing across my body, sometimes I lose vision when I rotate and I have one eye on the ball instead of two. That's why I was swinging and missing so much.
Yeah, and the results were a lot of strikeouts, and we've noticed that. Fans have noticed that. His strikeout rate through 2022 was 22%, and his walk rate was 14.9. Over the past 2 years, strikeout rate went up to 26.8, and his walk rate, it dropped to 12.5. But an interesting note, Trout did slow that trend last year. It was a small sample size, but the percentages did change. Now, Wash says that they want Trout to be freer with his path and less restricted to the ball. John, I noticed last night when he hit that double down the line, he was classic Mike Trout, leaning over, and the bat was straight to the ball, and it went right down the line. And I thought, man, that's like 22-year-old Mike Trout again.
Yeah.
It was a good swing, and it was perfect. It was where it needed to be.
He gets those shoe top swings too, Mike.
Yes.
Like if anything's down in the zone, like Trout is going to crush it. Remember Chris Sale had that where Trout hit the granny against him. It was like,
I just watched that video.
It was way below the strike zone, and Trout hit it out, and it was insane. So Trout just has an amazing knack to hit those pitches down there.
Yeah, and so I know that he doesn't have great stats at the moment, but you can see that he's starting to heat up. Remember, he has said in years past, I need 80 to 90 at-bats to really get going. But, John, what I love about Trout and what he's doing right now is a couple of sacrifice flies in the first game of the series against the Cardinals, had the double last night. He's drawing walks. He's seeing a lot of pitches, and he doesn't look too overpowered with that fastball high in the zone. In fact, I saw last night where he flicked the wrist just to foul the ball off, which was great to see on that pitch really high. And again, we've said this on the show before, but there's a really great episode from 2 years ago where John actually identified where Mike Trout needs to work on in the strike zone. And it was the high strike. It was really before anybody kind of noticed that. And then you had some good encouragement for Mike on what he can do to catch up to that. But here's the question I have for you, Johnny. What kind of Trout do the Halos need Trout to be this year?
I think just a consistent threat at the plate. When Mike Trout comes up, you're afraid to pitch to him. That's the Trout that makes everybody in this lineup better. And I know last night they were pitching around him in extra innings, and they ended up, just giving him ball four, and he took his base. Look, that's because they're afraid to pitch to him, Mike. And the reason they were afraid to pitch to him is because of exactly what happened. He hit that double down the line. He fouled that pitch off at the top of the zone, which, by the way, he's tripled on a check swing like that before down the line. It went the other way, and it was a check swing triple. So that's something that Trout is capable of. But the fact is, he was a beast out in the outfield, holding Donovan to third base with that throw. And even though that's not offense, that still is like Mike Trout has a presence. And so for Trout to be a threat, for Trout to be dangerous, everybody has forgotten how good Mike Trout is.
Right.
And everybody was saying, oh, he's, it's 3 games in. People are saying, Trout looks terrible. He looks washed. He looks bad at the plate. Now he's going to have a couple of RBIs. He's going to have that, double down the line. And now the trade Trout to some other team conversations are going to pop back up, because it happens every year, Mike. It happens. It's like Christmas. It happens every year where Trout starts to do good, and we're back to, when's Trout going to get traded to a contender? Well, you know what? The Angels currently are 4-1, so they're looking pretty contenderish right now, if you ask me.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. And everydayers, you can catch Angel games this season with the help of FanDuel. Head to FanDuelSportsNetwork.com/packages. There you're going to get full access to our Halos for just $19.99 a month. But if you head there today, use the promo code BASEBALL30, and you're going to get 30 days of a free trial of our Halos. Again, head to FanDuelSportsNetwork.com. Use the promo code BASEBALL30. Get 30 free days of our Halos. And then after that, it's just $19.99 per month. It expires May 2nd, so you got to move on it. You got about a month to do that. You can cancel during the free trial at any time to avoid charges, and eligibility restrictions do apply.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube. Get in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit subscribe. And hopefully you're checking out the postcast with Gavin Carlson, our buddy, who's doing a great job live after every Angel game. Man, they're having a lot of fun, especially after wins like this. Mike, we're getting together with a good friend of ours, aren't we, tomorrow's show?
Yeah, we're going to talk with Locked On Cardinals, and we're going to debrief the game and debrief the series, and we're hoping that we can bring some brooms to tomorrow's show and that we can rub it in. It'll be a whole lot of fun tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Yeah, JD is a great guy. We're looking forward to connecting with him for tomorrow's show. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.
How about those Southern California teams playing really, really well? The Padres and the Angels.
That's right. Just those two.